Hello, hey guys, and welcome to another episode of Inglês, sobre, Rádio. My name is Foster, still, and we are still currently under lockdown. We are in quarantine, and I'm coming to you live from the forest in Spartanburg, South Carolina, which is my hometown, minha cidade natal. This is where I was born and raised. So I am just walking in the woods, getting some fresh air, stretching my legs, and I thought I would talk to you guys. And what I was thinking about talking about today, maybe for the next couple of days, is just about how I'm spending my time in quarantine. We've already done a few episodes about this. You should check them out. They are very fun. We talk about how I bought a banjo, and I'm learning to play banjo. And we've talked about Alexia and her recent obsession with all things related to gardening, flowers, plants, horticulture. She is turning our apartment in Porto into a jungle. So if you want to check those out, I highly recommend it. Anyway, today I wanted to talk about something else I've been doing during quarantine. And this might not be a big surprise to you, but I've been listening to a ton of podcasts, which I always do, but nowadays it is probably a little bit more intense. Some days I feel like that's pretty much all I'm doing is listening to a ton of podcasts during one day. So today I was thinking about recommending two of my favorite history podcasts. So when I say history, I am talking about, in general, I'm talking about nonfiction podcast. So these are just recounting different stories throughout history, and it will all make more sense with the specific recommendations. So let's get started. Recommendation number one for awesome history podcasts that you can listen to wherever you get podcasts. My first recommendation is a podcast called Hope Through History. So this is a new podcast produced by John Meacham. He is a journalist, a reporter, a biographer, and he graduated from my university, Sewanee, the University of the South. So that means we share an alma mater. That is a good, weird, educational thing to know in English. Your highest degree or the last place that you studied is considered your alma mater. Alma mater. I believe that is Latin. I don't really know why we say it, but we do sometimes. Anyways, this podcast, Hope Through History, it is absolutely fantastic. And there are a bunch of people walking by, so I think we might have to stop for a second. Okay, so let's stop for just a second so I can catch my breath and to think about pronunciation for just 1 second. So the word world. Então a palavra mundo. This is difficult because we have the R sound, were, and we also have that tricky RL combination that can be really difficult for Brazilians. So, what can we do? Whenever you have a really difficult combination of sounds in English, I always recommend separating or deconstructing those sounds into their most basic parts. So in this case, we have the word world, which consists of two separate sounds, were, old. So for example, they were going to the supermarket and my parents are getting old. Okay, we're old. So what I recommend that you do is you start by saying these two sounds slowly. So just repeat with me. We're old. We're old. We're old. And just do that for like 30 seconds. Just repetition is how you improve. We're old. We're old. Okay, and when you can do that very comfortably, you can do it without thinking, you can start getting a little bit faster. And you can say, we're old, we're old, we're old, we're old. This is probably a little bit more difficult, but do it for like 30 seconds until you can do it consistently, smoothly, without making too many mistakes. And then you can even add a stress to the second syllable, which sounds like this. We're old, we're old, we're old, we're old, we're old. And as you keep getting faster and faster, eventually those two sounds just combine together and you begin to say world, world, world. Okay, so just to review, start very slowly. We're old, we're old. Get a little bit faster. We're old, we're old, we're old, we're old, we're old, we're old. And then you can add a stress to the second syllable. We're old, we're old, we're old, we're old, we're old, we're old, world. And that just combines together and creates that beautiful RL sound in English. Okay, anyways, we were talking about a history podcast, which you can learn about FDR and the Great Depression. You can learn about Winston Churchill and World War II. World War II. Meu Deus. And if you are Brazilian, if you are anything like Alexia, you are obsessed with Winston Churchill. I don't know if that's a Brazilian thing or if that's just Alexia and her dad, but Churchill is fascinating. Check him out. He also has an episode about the polio epidemic, which I knew very little about, but unfortunately is a super relevant topic in the current situation. And then today he has an episode about JFK, John F. Kennedy. A lot of American presidents have acronyms. FDR, JFK, LBJ. That's a good thing to study. We did an episode on acronyms in English. I believe it was episode 45, but I'm not certain. Anyway, today they just dropped an episode about JFK and the Cuban Missile Crisis, and that's what I'm listening to right now. Okay, guys, so I am talking a lot, so I think I'm going to stop for now. But if you are at home and you are kind of missing an academic feeling, you miss studying, you miss being in the classroom, or just that feeling of learning. Learning feels good. If you miss that and you want to brush up on some American history, I recommend checking out the podcast Hope Through History by John Meacham. Okay, I will talk to you guys soon.